Sinumsa here at Ngosi Talk Shows, Find Your Own Voice, Lead from Within. With me today, Amanda Murray and Nick Motishka. Good morning and good afternoon. You guys are in Canada. Good morning. So, Nick, our topic today is all about Mastermind. Could you please tell us about Mastermind? The power of Mastermind group. I know you went to one over the weekend, so you decided we're going to talk about it today. So could you please explain to our audience why this topic is so important today?
Sure. So yeah, I'm fresh back from my first Mastermind experience. So I traveled to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico recently and participated in there was 28 individuals who went and traveled to Puerto Vallarta. And so we were split into two different groups, so 14 and 14 for the actual Mastermind portion of the trip. And so I had no experience with masterminds prior to this. And to be totally honest with you, I didn't really even know what it was. So I will explain it as best I can from my own experience. So this way of sharing and collaborating is basically based on the model that 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. So when one person shares with someone else and is looking for help or assistance or guidance, and when you combine that with another person, it creates something bigger than the two individuals themselves. And that is the mastermind. So in this particular experience for myself, it was 1 + 13 doesn't equal 14. It equals, I don't even know, but a lot. So for me, my experience, so this was a business entrepreneurship related mastermind kind of situation. There was a lot more to this trip than just business and entrepreneurship, absolutely. But specifically for the mastermind portion, for me, I definitely focused on business anyways. And so I shared my story, just like I share with you guys, just from a vulnerable, very open, willing to just see what happens and receive kind of a place. That's how I approached it, which I think is probably a good way to approach it, without too much preconceived ideas of what's going to happen or what you're going to get back. And it was a phenomenal experience. So they prior to this actual sharing, the masterminding, they opened the container, the facilitators I'm talking about, and set kind of the ground rules. And I don't recall all of them. There's 8 of them. And we would go through all 8 of the masterminding, kind of what they're based on, the rules, before each session. And I'll kind of sum them up best I can from memory. And it's to share openly. It's to put your, basically to put your priority on giving rather than receiving. And it's to participate openly and honestly, and to keep the information shared within that container. So to not go sharing specific details on people's lives outside of that. And so that obviously there's more than that, but those are the ones that are coming to mind right now. So it was, for my experience, it was a very ceremonial kind of situation, and which I really enjoyed. I enjoy that ceremony portion, or that kind of aspect to it. And so, long story short, in that kind of environment, when I shared my story, again, not knowing what I was going to receive, It was just an amazing experience for me. And some of my biggest takeaways, I can definitely get into as we go along, but I definitely want to hear from you guys as well and hear what your masterminding experience has been, and then we can go into specific details of kind of what my experience looked like. So I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say.
You want to go, Amanda?
Sure. My name is Amanda Cottrell. I don't have a lot of experience with masterminding. I've only really started to hear about it in the last year or so. But I was taking it back, that power, that what you were talking about, that 1 + 1 = 2. Even in the classroom, I see that when kids get to collaborate, they get ideas that are just so much more. And that's why I think collaboration is something that we should really focus on in schools, is because you can get so much more ideas and such a better result at the end, and learn so much more when you interact with others and share that space. Sometimes though, I know that collaborative projects can be a little bit difficult if not everyone is in on the purpose of it. And so I think masterminding with the right people is something that is really, really key. People who are there to give and to really be present with the group that's there. I think that's something that's really important. Is it's not necessarily having everyone collaborate all the time in a group. It's being really focused and specific with who you choose to be in your mastermind, and how it's run, so that it's run in the most time effective and way for everybody that's involved, and in the most giving and uplifting way for everyone that's involved. I think that's something that's really, really important, because if you're masterminding with the wrong group of people, it's not going to get you anywhere. But if you mastermind with the right group of people, it will take you beyond your wildest dreams. I truly believe. But I don't have enough experience with it yet. But that's my prediction of the power of it. Nomza?
Okay, mastermind. I joined was what do you call it, a life book with Miss and her husband. I think they're in Mine Valley, but they have their own thing. So I joined their life book, writing my vision and collaborating with other people in there. So I think it was for 2 years or 2 years. Yeah, 2 years or 1 year, I can't remember. So that's the experience that I had. So we had to, it is very, very useful when you go through collaborating with other people, because you get to learn so many things. And that's where I've learned to actually write my vision, my life book based on health-wise. How does my health look like as a person? In my spirituality, how does it look like? And what else? I think I have 12 categories that they deal with. So I had to write step by step all those things. And you have to have a membership when you join a mastermind, but you can't just join a mastermind like what Amanda was saying. You have to join people that have a vision, that think like you, so you can exchange your ideas. I'm also in the other group as well with the matchmakers and the millionaire mindset group. So we motivate each other, and we help each other with ideas. Like, let's say if I'm building something or if I'm writing something, that's when I share that with people, and then they can give me some advice on like the questions. If I have any questions that I have, I can do that. And there's loads of things that you can access, the facilities, the share. We're meant to have a meeting on Friday. I don't know if it's going to happen, sharing ideas about marketing, how you're building your own business. So those are the things that you can benefit through Mastermind, but there is more. Nick, want to hear yours?
So yeah, I'll get into, I guess, the specifics of what I took away from my experience. So this the masterminding for me was the first time I shared my story to a group of people. So I've shared with you guys and a few other kind of individuals or a couple of people at a time. And for me, it was as I was speaking and just just kind of getting it all out there and just speaking my truth, I could just feel the energy of the group of people that were there. And I mean, Amanda, I think you nailed it with you need to be masterminding with the right group of people with the right intention. And this was exactly that. And so as I was speaking, I could just feel that collective energy of that group and could feel their just interest, and you could physically see them leaning in and sitting on the edge of their seat, literally and figuratively. And it was really that for me, that was one of my biggest takeaways, is just how empowering our stories can be when you tell them in a larger group. With what's happened in the last couple of or almost 3 years now, that's been taken away from us in large part, is the larger groups. And that, to me, it was a big realization, is like, that is our power as human beings, is that collective, and that group energy is so powerful. And I mean, we talked about it a little bit at the beginning, like the 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. And it's so true. When you get into larger numbers, it's amazing the energy of what you get back. And as I'm talking, I'm just thinking about those times in our lives with large groups of people, and it's how powerful they can be. And so think about a concert where it's a band that's a really popular band, and you're in a sold out arena, and there's, let's say, close to 20,000 people. So there's 20,000 individuals in that room. No one's on their phone. No one's in their head. Everybody's just in it, in that moment, in the music or the sporting event or whatever it is. And the energy of that, like the cheering and the brotherhood and sisterhood, and like the love that's in that room. That's why we crave live events, and we have, as long as we've existed, right back in history, to those large sporting events in the Coliseum and like those sort of things. Like, it's a real thing for us humans to get together with that shared collective interest, I guess. So when I truly felt that in this group, in this masterminding group. And so that for me was really big to realize. It's like, oh man, yeah, the power of our own stories. And of course, yeah, my story is different than other people's, for sure. But just to have that realization that people want to hear other people's story, like when they share from a vulnerable place, and people want to be able to help other people. And that's one of the biggest additional takeaway, is that that power of service portion, not just showing up to get something, but to actually participate and to give back to the other people sharing. So in my experience, so shared my story. The response was great. Everyone was really positive. I had people coming up to me because it was a larger group, it was kind of broken up into different days. And so in the subsequent days, I had people coming up to me just thanking me for sharing my story, and for being a little bit inspiring to them through my own story. And then people had connections and ideas and different collaborations that are actually still, like, literally yesterday, are still kind of happening. So yeah, sharing to a group of 14 or 13 other people. So for me, I'll just kind of tell you what I'm up to, I guess, if you don't already know. But so I'm in the process. Well, I've launched an apparel brand here in Canada that's locally made in Canada. It's natural fiber. The clothing is natural fiber, and it's, in my opinion, cool as hell. And so I'm at a point now where I've built this thing up to the point where I'm launching it out into the world. But now I need to get it out into the world, and that's kind of the position I'm in the business and in my life. And so it's not a coincidence at all that in that group of 13 other people, there was professional marketers, there was like social media experts, there was SEO experts, there was a professional storyteller whose like mission it is to like capture people's story and tell it effectively in our modern world through digital means. So those four that I've just mentioned are like, that's like a marketing agency, like right there. And they were in this group participating. And so they've now come together and they want to collaborate and have basically launch a business with all of them as, you know, different parts of that machine. And they want me, my brand, to be like their first test case, basically. Again, not a coincidence at all that like, and that to me is just demonstrates the power of a mastermind, when you come together like that and you can just move very heavy objects figuratively. So yeah, it was wild, and I'm still unpacking all of what happened over that time period. There was a lot of healing involved as well, even outside of the mastermind. There was ceremonies and kind of rituals, and yeah, there's a lot going on. So I'm still kind of wrapping my head around all of it. Sorry if I'm kind of rambling on, but it was a great experience. So I'm interested to hear what you guys' takeaways are from that.
I think that so much of it is the intention behind going, the people who went there, right? You all went there with the intention of growing and sharing. And so those are the type of people that showed up there, and that intention then allowed all of those people to be in that space at that same time, which is so powerful. Because if you had just gone like to like a hockey arena and picked 14 different people to be like, hey, come sit in this mastermind with me, you're not going to get that same level of just like power and collaboration, right? You're going to get people who are like, why am I here? What's going on? When's the next hockey game, right? And they'd be distracted and they'd be like gossiping about different things or whatever, right? And so when you go into something with that intention of sharing, and that intention, like all of the people who came to what you went to in Mexico probably all had that intention of growth and collaboration and sharing and willingness to be vulnerable and willingness to just be out and open and authentically themselves, right? And so then you get that amazing power from that. And in my experience, I've been working on this collaborative book called How Yoga Empowered My Life. And my goal was to have 10 people. And I got it. I have 10 people. I finally finished like all of the edits of the book, everything. And I'm so excited to launch this book. But just collaborating with people has just been like so powerful for me, like reading their stories, reading their unapologetically authentic them stories is just like, it's so eye-opening, and it's going to be so healing for other people to see how yoga has helped all of these other people who are just like regular people, and it's like completely shifted their lives. And I think that'll be so important for other women who are feeling stuck and struggling, and just to build this community of empowerment is kind of one of my goals. But all of the people who decided to contribute had that intention of being vulnerable, being authentic, sharing from a very sacred space. And that makes all the difference in the world. And I think that's something that is what we want to see more of. And if you want to build a mastermind, you have to be really, really conscious of your intentions behind it, and also trust that the people that you attract are the right people at the right time. And the people that I thought that would contribute didn't necessarily contribute to it, which is interesting, because they're people that I know have a really powerful story to tell. It's just not the right timing for them, right? And so when their timing's right, maybe they will be in version 2 of the book. But it's that power, and that mastermind looks different. And some of it was people. A couple of people were just like me, reaching out on different groups that I'm on, but one was that somebody reached out to me on a book that I had already written called I'm Fearless, a yoga story for kids and superheroes. And she just was like, reached out and was like, I really love your book and I use it with all of the kids in all my kids programs. And I just wanted to tell you how much I loved it. And like, can I have a meeting with you? And I was like, sure. And then I told her about the other book that I was writing, because just listening to her talk, and then she's actually the last chapter of the book. I was just waiting on her to be able to publish it, because I was like, I'm pretty much ready to publish it, but if you want to be in it, then I'll wait. And I'm just so grateful that I did, and that she reached out at exactly that time, because her story is definitely meant to be in the book. And collaborating with her even yesterday, she's like, what about an online book launch? Because people who contributed, there's a few that live here, but there's people in the States and there's people in different parts of Canada who contributed. So I was like, I don't know how to do a book launch party when it's like there's people all over. There's 10 people and only 4 of us live in Calgary. So and then she was like, how about a virtual one? I was like, I don't even know how to begin to plan that, but maybe, like, that's a huge, just even something I had never even thought of. I was like, my goal is just to get this out. Like, that's my only goal right now, is just to get it finished and out to the world. But then they're like, here, this idea and this idea and this idea, and it will just make it that much better, right? And more powerful. I think that's all I have to say right now. But I want to hear about the healing pieces that were tied into what you did as well, because I think that's super important. And then also like how the mastermind was run so that each person got a voice, and then how the person who was sharing was able to, like, was there a specific protocol that was followed? I'm curious about those things.
Yeah, so it was set up. So we read the principles, or the guideposts of masterminding before each session. So it was fresh in your mind. The purpose was to collaborate and to give more than you receive. And again, I'm just speaking on like my experience of when I was participating in the mastermind. There was a lot of just taking in what other people were saying, and then giving not advice, but like from a place of, well, love. Number one is to give comments or suggestions from that place of like, so give an example of from your own life, like, oh, I was at one point in my life, I had this kind of going on, and for me, when I thought about it this way, it really helped me to get through that tough time in my life, rather than being like, you need to do this and this and this and this and this. So yeah, it wasn't like that at all. It was very like loving. So that was one of the main, a very important piece of that. And then as far as the structure goes, it was very time, that you had a specific amount of time, and then it worked out to, I believe it was 27 minutes for some reason. It's kind of a weird number. And then someone was keeping track of time, so they would, 5 minutes left, they would give you a 5-minute warning. And so the way that it was kind of structured was, so you would tell your story, and then however long that took was obviously up to you. And then you just went around the room, and in this particular group, everyone was there to try and help. So like as soon as you were done talking and you were ready to receive the mastermind, like 13 hands would shoot up. And so it would just be like, okay, so you just go around and pick on different people sitting, and we were set up in a circle, which it was, I think, important as well for the ceremony portion of it, was to have this sacred circle set up. And yeah, it would go from, take a comment from over here, and then you would just kind of take it all in, and then again the time would be coming to a close, and so there'd be, you would know that was happening. And everyone was very respectful of, well, number one, the time and the portion of not just giving advice and like telling people what to do. It was from a very, very loving, helping, service first kind of place. And then, so just to kind of, yeah, Amanda, you asked what the other portions of this trip look like. So just to give you kind of an overview of what that looked like, and how the outside stuff actually really assisted in the masterminding, just because that openness and that vulnerability and that sacred, being safe to share was very much a big part of this, the whole trip. So we arrived later in the afternoon on it was on a Tuesday, and so everyone kind of was coming in from literally all over North America, right from Florida to Toronto to Vancouver to Denver to all over. There was a little bit of everyone. So the facilitators, there was two individuals, and they're based in BC here in Canada, and they they opened the container, it was called, and set up the kind of the way things were going to go, and talked about all the things that we've already talked about, like from a loving place and the compassion and the service, and made it like the whole thing was a ceremony right from start to finish. So opened the container, and then we had the perfect amount of free time to really get to know the other people, and it was just really wild and really refreshing to be in a larger group like that, and to have there was no surface small talk. It was right into childhood traumas, and just deep, right off the hop. And when you start having conversations with people from that place and that, it's immediately it's oh man, you're my brother, you're my sister, and there's hugs constantly, which is not something I'm comfortable with traditionally. My upbringing is not a lovey huggy kind of a thing, but yeah, right from the start I'm giving 30-40 second hugs to other men, and it's the most normal thing ever. There's no judgment, and you see two guys hugging or two girls or whatever the setup is, and it's oh yeah, that's just Wednesday afternoon, and people are crying, and it was wild. And so just it kind of made me think of how we're supposed to live in community, and in tribe, and what that feels like when everybody knows all your stuff, and not in a judgy, how our society is, where it's you want to put yourself above other people because they did that or had that happen to them. It was quite the opposite. It was let's build up the people that have had tragic things happen to them and that are dealing with various traumas. And so that was just so refreshing to feel that, and that community, and that sense of belonging and that like non-judgment. So that was like right from the beginning. So and then moved into Wednesday morning, and then started Mastermind, opened that container and had that for the morning. And then in the afternoon, we had a professional or a retired professional basketball player come and talk about movement, like from a like how we're supposed to move. And so that was really, really cool. And he's an amazing individual who lives down in that area. And then we had we went to a sacred place on the hillside overlooking Puerto Vallarta, and it was called Terra Noble, and we did a cacao ceremony, and then it was like a legit ceremony. Like we sang to the mother cacao, and like it was cool, very cool. And then did ecstatic dance for I don't even know how many hours after that, just like in this beautiful setting on this kind of jungly, on this beautiful sacred space overlooking this beautiful city with the ocean in the background. And so that was quite the experience, again, coming from that non-huggy, non-touchy-feely kind of family. You can imagine how good of a dancer I am. But it was like the instructions were to, keep your eyes closed and to just go inside and not worry about what other people were doing, and just have it be your own experience and just move your body, which was something that I wouldn't naturally do voluntarily, but I just went for it. I'm in Mexico anyways for this thing. These people already know about all my stuff, so I might as well embarrass myself by dancing. But there was no, and I say that jokingly because there was no embarrassment at all. And then so then the following day was more masterminding in the morning, and then in the afternoon we had an individual she's a medical doctor who's also an energy healer. Her name is Dr. Divi, and she is incredible. She's got some stuff on YouTube. She's been she has a TED Talk that's it's really, really cool. And so she did basically energy clearing and healing on all 28 of us. So it was like almost 10-hour session. Like it went to like 2 a.m. And it was like, without sharing specifics of people's stories, it was like there was entities pulled out of people, there was crying, there was yelling, like releasing things, there was laughing. It was the most wild 10 hours I can really ever think of. And like not for 1 minute did I ever like be like, oh man, I wish this would wrap up. Like I was just like in it and it was exhausting, like emotionally and physically. It was a very, very wild experience for me. What I was looking for, so she kind of broke it down. If you wanted help with relationships, if you needed help with health, or if you needed kind of more business stuff, you could kind of pick your category. And so for me, it was, I wanted to heal I have a problem in receiving love. I know I'm loved, but I don't let myself feel it. So that was something that I wanted to focus on. And so she called in like archangels and like did cord cutting stuff. And I can't even, it was such a wild experience. I was just in it, so I don't even remember all of the things that happened. But it was an incredible experience. And yeah, people's vulnerability and their stories and like the trauma that they've went through, and then to see them still showing up at something like this, it was just very, very inspiring. And so that was, the Thursday afternoon. And then we went, sorry to back up, the organizers had a catamaran the one afternoon into kind of the evening. So it was all perfectly organized, went out on onto the ocean and went snorkeling, and they had music, and it was just very, very well done. And then there was more masterminding the following day. And then we had a lady come from Vancouver. She's the very, very successful business lady in the apparel world. She's kind of known as the queen of apparel in Canada. And her story is just incredible. Her name's Treya Clausen. The trauma that she's overcome to be where she's at is just truly, truly inspiring. And so she's big on the landmark style of or the landmark courses, which is something I'm definitely going to get into. She describes landmark as the most transformational course on the planet, which is pretty high praise from anyone, but let alone someone in her position. And so she had a very, very kind of grounded view of business and how she conducts business. And she basically won't work with anyone that's not doing work on themselves, which is, I was sitting there thinking, I'm like, oh, that is brilliant. So she won't work with anyone who's not conscious, which is like amazing. Like, what a great way to run your business, is to have only people who are, truly working on themselves, and who are that have that mindset. Is just, it was amazing to hear that from someone in her position. And then there was a DJ kind of beach, because our place was, so we had it all to ourselves, which was amazing. It would have been the only way to do it because of all how vulnerable and all that. It wouldn't have been the same if there would have been, just regular tourists there for their boozy PV trip, seeing us 40-second man hugs all the time and guys crying and all that. Would have not been the same if there would have been people walking around drunk with a margarita in their hand. And so, it was a beautiful setup with multiple pools, and the staff there was amazing, and we ate all our meals there, right on site, like just outside of basically the circle where we would share. And it was right on the ocean, and so we would, I didn't even talk about, there's so many good things that happen. So in the mornings, there was sacred silence, which I've never participated in, which was amazing. So there'd be movement and meditation at about 8:00 in the morning. So we'd go down to the beach and have, there was some individuals there that were yoga instructors, qigong, incredibly talented people in terms of movement. And so they would guide us through basically a movement practice with some breath work. And then we would have a guided meditation sitting on the beach. And one of the guys played the handpan, brought this beautiful instrument across the world. And so we'd be meditating on the beach while he was playing this beautiful handpan. And there was a girl who was a sound healer, so she had different bowls and all sorts of funky things going on in the background. And then, so after the movement and the meditation, then you could make eye contact with people and say good morning and all of that. And it was just such a cool experience, because normally when you wake up, especially, in a group setting like that, people will be like, oh, how was your sleep? And, oh, what did you, and kind of get into more small talk. Whereas this, everyone was just doing their own thing, whether it was some yoga or journaling or just sitting, watching the beautiful ocean view as the sun came up. So yeah, I don't know if that kind of describes what the situation was, but it was incredible. Yeah, and the masterminding portion was a big part of it, and it was incredible. The whole thing was just great.
It sounds like it was amazing, and that there were so many different, like, very thought out parts of it. And I laugh as you were talking, because just before the show we were talking about how you had a Puerto Vallarta trip planned when you were like 19 and then I finally got to go now. And I'm just thinking, like, your intention behind going now versus your intention behind what it would have been then, two like polar opposites, right? And if you had been dragged into what you went to now at 19, you would have been like, this is not what I signed up for, right? But because you went at this point in time with that intention, you were just like all willing to receive all of the good from it. But at a different point in time, you might not have been willing to receive all of the good for it. And I think that's something that's really important for people to contemplate, is that intention behind things, because sometimes our intention really changes our perspective, right? Because if you went into something with the intention of, I'm going there to party and like have a good time, and then you end up at the wrong place, you'd be like, this isn't, no, this was a horrible experience, right? You'd be like, this is horrible. But really, if you go into a space with the right intention with that organization, it can be the most life-changing experience. Yet if you're not ready and you don't go into it with the right intention, it's not going to be. And I think that's something that when we're ready, the teachers come. And I think that's something that's really important too, is to trust in the timing of life and trust in the process of life, because the right people will show up, like you said, those people, specific people that the marketers and the search engine optimization experts and different people, like there's this team there that is just there at the right time. Whereas if you had still been being a police officer, you wouldn't have found as much value in what those people had to offer. But at this point in time, meeting them, it's like, those are the perfect people I could have met, right? And so I think that intention and timing and trust is something that we really need to do. But also, Nomza was talking before about, what is your vision, right? And to be really clear on that vision, because that's something that if you don't have a clear vision of where you want to go, then how are you going to know when you get there? And so those are kind of my thinking as you're speaking today, because I know today is kind of about like, let's hear what your experience was in this trip that you went on, and so that people can learn about masterminds and learn about ones that are going on across the world. The only ones that I've ever been involved in were just like over the FaceTime type of one, and it just had like 2 or 3 people in it. And well, the intention was to give and share and everything. I think that masterminding really has to be with people who are really at that intent of helping and sharing and growing, but also who have an expertise in different areas as well, so that they can help you rise to the next level. And that's where you want to not be the smartest person in the room, right? You want to be, if you are wanting to grow in a certain area, then you want to go to that area where those experts are. And if you want to grow in this other area, then you don't go to that room, you go over here, because you're going to get more of these experts. And when you were in policing, you would go to a very different group of people than you were going to now, because of your intention and your vision is different. And so I think that's something to really be conscious and aware of as well. And I liked what you said about that person who is in apparel that only works with really conscious people who are really doing that inner work, because that inner work is tough. It's so tough. It's like it, and sometimes you can just shut down from it and and forget about it. But really, it just will rear its ugly head again if you don't go and really be authentic and vulnerable with it. And so I think that's a really good way to approach business, is to work with people who are consciously working on growing, because I'm not growing just in a financial capacity, growing on that inner work as well, because that's really how we help heal the planet, is if we heal ourselves.
Yeah, I actually agree with Nick and you, Amanda, that a mastermind is very, very important, because like Nick, what he was saying, that you guys had all this, you were all together in one assignment, which is to learn from each other. And mostly you left your job and you want to be the person that you want to become. And in order for you to become that, you have to be surrounded, you have to be in the right tribe. And which is the right tribe, it meant that you needed to go away and work on yourself without being judged, and with people that understand your language. So I think that is really, really amazing, that people need to understand what Mastermind can do for you and for your business. And also you get feedback from people. If you have any questions, like you tell people your story, and if you have any questions you want to ask them, you can ask them there. And if there's people have any ideas they want to share, and those ideas they've worked really hard for them for many, many years. But when they meet someone in that mastermind group, they don't hide them, they share them with you, because they want you to succeed. And that's what you went for, basically, to meet people, make good business connection, and connect with the right people, and also make a commitment. So I'm sure when you left, there was a declaration that I'm making a commitment to, I'm going to become this. And that's what Mastermind is for. And I've never attended the in-person one like you have. I've attended the online one, which is different than when you meet actually people in person, and you work together. Like you guys were like in a mission. How long did you guys, was the mastermind 5 days?
6.
6 days. That is so much. It's like you are there for a mission. You are there to actually build your confidence, build your life and your business, getting business ideas. And I think is really amazing for those who are watching. And if you want to join, you can't join any mastermind groups. You have to actually do some research and try to join a good one, because not every mastermind is good. And just learn from them. The mastermind for Miss and her husband, it was good for me. I've learned so much. I've learned areas of my life, how to work on these areas, because I couldn't understand. There's some things that I couldn't understand. So you had to work, you go deep and asking yourself some questions about what you want to do in life and your vision and so many things. And it helped me so much. Doing that life vision, and it also helped me, but I didn't experience the experience that Nika had. Now I'm gonna want to go to their mastermind in person, and I'm sure it will be really, really different. So you guys, the experience that you have had, I've had, like for me, what I've had, it was a deliverance where I would just go maybe for 1 week, but through church deliverance, which is similar to what you guys do. And which is you learn so much about so many things about yourself. You're going deep, but you guys were just there. No one is judging you. All about business, all about learning about yourself and having an understanding of who Nick is, and what does Nick want to do. And I'm sure that we're going to see a different Nick. And the people that you're surrounded by with you as well, it just shows that starting a business, you mean business. When you left your job, you were like, I need to change my life. I need to change everything. And you've done it, which is really, really amazing. And if anyone is watching, you can follow Nick's story, and it's amazing. It's not easy to actually start something new. When you have worked for years, he had worked in the police industry for many, many years. He was comfortable. He had everything, earning good money, promoted, earning good money. But then he decided, you know what? This is not who I want to be for the rest of my life. I want to be this. And that can be scary. It can be really, really, the fear, it can be really, 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 but you were like, I have courage to take one step at a time and do these things. And we've watched you grow. And Amanda dragged you. As soon as you left your job, she dragged you to go see talk shows. And you were like, okay, I'm going to go for it. So, which is amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that story. And if anyone is watching Nick right now and they want to know who you are and where they can find you, can you please tell our audience where they can find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So my brand is Flow State Designs. The website is flowstatedesigns.ca. And yeah, on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all the things under Flow State Designs. And then, yeah, I just wanted to mention too, before I forget, is Amanda, you talked about the collaboration piece and how important that is. And for me, that was another big takeaway is I've been kind of doing my thing by myself behind closed doors, which served me very, very well through the last couple of years, just going through my own journey, healing from the traumas of my basically entire adult life in enforcement and specifically policing. And so it was exactly what I needed. But now to go into a group setting, into a mastermind setup, and truly embrace that collaboration is something that was a huge takeaway from this past week. And how, well, number one, how much more fun it is to not be by yourself and to have other people to bounce ideas off of and whatnot, and just how powerful it is when you start going that 1 + 1 is not 2 at all. And so brought that back home, and things are happening. There's momentum is building. People are reaching out. Like it's truly amazing when you make that conscious decision to put yourself out there and to like just allow things to happen and not force. It's incredible what comes back. And I feel truly grateful for this experience, for you guys, for giving me this platform to share my story and to just kind of figure out what I'm doing here next and pushing forward. And it's amazing to have you guys in this platform. And I'm just kind of at a loss for words, really, of all the amazing things that are currently happening for me in the background. And I'm just excited to be here.
I'm curious about the mastermind, and you went away for 6 days to do this. Then what happens moving forward? Is there like a structure of like you guys meet every month, or you just made connections with who you wanted to connect with and you keep talking to them, or what happens? Was there a structure around that? I'm just curious from my own knowledge on that.
Yeah. So I think the specifics of what that's going to look like going forward are still kind of being worked out. But we have an integration call, they're calling it, actually later today. So I'm excited to reconnect with these people. It's been about week and a half now since we've kind of went back to our own lives and had some time to reflect on what we all went through and what we've gained and learned and all of that. So yeah, I guess I'll know more after today. But yeah, I think individually there's a lot of connections I've made, and it'll be on me to keep those connections going, whatever that looks like, whether it's online chat or in person, depending on where people are physically located. I'm kind of on an island here in the middle of Alberta. I'm the only one from Alberta that was even on this trip, but there was a bunch of people from different areas of BC, Vancouver specifically. I'm kind of jealous of them because they can get together in person regularly. But yeah, so it'll be kind of on the individuals to keep those relationships going. And then I'll find out more later today what it looks like more formally going forward. And they threw out some ideas, whether it's a weekly, monthly, or bi-monthly get together online and to discuss different issues or whatever comes up. But that hasn't been set in stone yet, so still to be determined. But yeah, I'm definitely interested in keeping this momentum going and those connections going, because it was just very, very inspiring and really beneficial. And then if anyone is feeling the call to do this work and to participate in a mastermind, I would just say, trust that. It was amazing to hear the different people that ended up on this trip specifically, and how so many of us, myself definitely included, was I kind of I knew that I wanted to do it, but I kept putting it off, and then it just kept coming up and little synchronicities, and a song would come on and be Mexico by Paul Simon. I'd be okay, I guess I need to go to Mexico. And it was almost begrudgingly I decided to finally do it. And I was, worried about how much it cost and all of those things. And then I get there, and almost every single other person there had the exact same story. It was but they just knew they needed to be there, and so they made it happen, and it was perfect. If one of those people wouldn't have been there, it wouldn't have been the same. It was the exact right group at the exact right time with the exact right intention. So I would just say, if you're feeling that call, just make it happen. It's so worth it. And the group that I went with was called Black Sheep Masterminds. So if what I've said resonates with you and you feel like you're a little bit of a black sheep, look them up. They're phenomenal. So
it's amazing to hear your experience. I wonder if people go back year after year. Do they go once a year, or do they I'm just so curious as to if people go back, because I know I went to a retreat when I got divorced, and it was all about healing from childhood trauma and growth, and it wasn't a business focused one. It was more of a healing yourself focused one, and you can't ever go back to do the same retreat over again. It's a once in a lifetime thing. And then there was different options where you could do meetings or something in the bigger cities, because people come from all over for that as well. And I never went to any of the things afterwards, but I do still connect with a couple of the people that I met from it. And then I actually had another friend reach out to me after going to it, because I was in a Facebook group or something from that organization. And she was like, I didn't know that you went to this. And then we've had conversations since then on what we experienced at that retreat. And so I'm curious if it's something that you could go and do over and over again, or is it that type of mastermind a one-time thing? Because I know other people who do masterminds who meet once a week, or who meet once a month to specifically talk about business.
Yeah, so this particular company organization has been around for a couple of years, and this was their second abundance retreat, they call it. So then there was people from the first one that were on the second one. So yes, if you felt called to, you could you could go and do it. I think they do 2 a year actually, or their plan is to do 2 a year in different locations across the world basically. And and then prior to that, they did kind of more smaller mini getaways like in Whistler and in different areas like that. And there was individuals on this particular mastermind that had been to like every single one of the events prior to. So that's definitely a possibility with this particular group. And I haven't really, I don't know if I would, we'll see if when the next one comes up where I'm at and what I'm looking for. And but I feel like I would definitely want to go for sure based on my experience. But each one would be very different for sure, just based on the individuals that decided to go, and they would all have a very different feel and energy to them. But I'm just very happy that I was able to, and grateful that I was able to make this one happen, because it truly feels like was exactly what I needed to do and life-changing for sure.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Nick, and everyone that is watching or watching later. Please subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and also follow Amanda and Nick. And you can head to Ngosi Talk Show's page and give us some stars, and those stars will help us to actually reach so many people into our community. And if you want to hear more about Nick's mastermind group where he went for 6 days, please follow him and ask some questions. Or if you want to get in touch with me to connect you with Nick, please do. You can go to my website, www.hseia.com, and I'll connect you with Nico, Amanda, or any other coaches that you want to connect with. And live with grace, everyone, and God bless. Any words of encouragement, Nick, you want to leave with our audience?
I just repeat that if you're feeling the call to do this work, is to just make it happen. You will not regret it.
And I think, on any self-healing and self-exploration journey that you're going on, a business one or a personal one, if you're feeling called to, you're going to keep feeling called to until you actually step up and do it. So start today.
Thank you so much, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Live with grace, everyone, and God bless.